We're back with the 97 Toyota Tacoma 3.4 liter engine, manual transmission, two-wheel drive. So now we're just going through and doing everything on it. We had replaced a few things on it. I did the transmission output seal on this. Very hard to figure out what the fuck that seal was, because there's so different models of this car that some have extension housings on the transmission, some have a transfer case. You know, it's really annoying. So if you have the two-wheel drive manual transmission, there is no extension housing, there is no transfer case. It's just called a transmission output oil seal, and you get the one based off your engine model. And usually for your engine models, if you guys need to figure out anything transmission wise or anything like that, like on the side of your doors, you're gonna see right here, mine says automatic transmission R150. R150 was my transmission type. So that kind of stuff really helps out when you're looking up these parts that you need to figure out. And today we're doing our drive shaft center support bearing. Mine has been going out, I believe. I have a lot of shaking and playing. When I put the car into gear and you go to let go, it makes, you know, that clunking, like thumping sound. Like it sounds as if like the engine is, or the transmission is like slapping together or something like that. And then I started to get more of like a whining noises and wearing noises out of it. As you're driving down the road on certain gears, especially when you're letting off the gas and stuff like that, sometimes it'll make noises on you, and it does look pretty trash. So today we're going to get underneath the car and take it all apart. The repair manuals for this says we're going to have to remove the whole drive shaft from the vehicle and take it out from underneath and kind of just take it apart from there, because the center support bearing is between the U-joints, and so you have to remove some U-joint technically to get to it. But I checked out a couple things online, and as long as we disconnect the drive shaft right down here, so this is our center support bearing right there. If we loosen these bolts that are all right there, we'll go ahead and get them loosened, and then we'll take off our center support bearing down from there, and then we'll start to use the hammer to try and separate everything from each other. Very lightly, very be careful, you don't want to damage anything. This part here should all slide out. So this piece obviously detaches from here, and then inside of here, this piece, I believe the yoke or whatever you want to call this, slides down into our drive shaft, and then the bearing sits on the center of this, and it sits onto the drive shaft itself. So all this has to come apart for all this to slide out. And when we do that, we're going to mark everything. So I've got paint marks on it from the last time I was doing my clutch, because you have to make sure everything goes back in a specific order when you do it. It is very important that you do that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to make sure that I've got marks on this and this, so these two pieces go back together right. And the same thing for this. I want to mark here, and I want to mark down there, so all these pieces have one straight line going all the way down it. That way I can't put it back wrong, I can't make it just slightly misaligned, everything will come back in a perfect manner. So we're going to go ahead and get some paint. You can get markers, you can smack it with a hammer, make your mark, it don't matter. Just make sure that you mark it and leave it there, and do not lose track of your marks. So I'm going to go ahead, let's get started. I'm going to start by loosening these bolts up top. on our drive shafts. And then once those bolts are loose, I'm going to take these bracket bolts off, and I'm going to bring this whole piece down and then see if we can't get a hammer on it and, you know, start separating these two pieces and everything. So let's get started. So we're underneath. I went ahead and used my impact gun to kind of break these loose. They're really on there. I was trying to do it by hand, and it's hard to get leverage with the wrench and stuff, so I just use that to knock loose, and then I'll take them off the rest of the way with the wrench. Yeah, I wasn't able to get to one of these bolts with the gun because it was sitting right against my gas tank, so I ended up having to just moving my car just back just a little bit so the drive shaft will rotate, and once it did that, I was able to get a better angle on this bolt. And basically I'm gonna get these all loosened up. I'm gonna get the bolts off, keep track of them. I'm gonna pull this center support bearing off, and then once I drop this down, it should drop, so just hang on to it. And then after you do that, if you need to get a hammer or anything to separate, sorry, my hand's in the way. If you need to get a hammer or anything to separate these two pieces here, you know, the drive shaft from the plate right there, just get a hammer. You get a rubber mallet. I prefer rubber mallets before I have to use the actual hammer. But we're gonna get those separated, and after we get those separated and this drop down, we're gonna hit a hammer and hit it from the other side to see if we can't get that yoke out. So let's go ahead and see how much of this we can get filmed. I'm gonna see if this works. So, like I said, I have a rubber mallet somewhere. I'm gonna grab that real quick. Use this first before I pull out my actual sledgehammer. So let's actually pull up the sledgehammer. I don't feel like that's doing much, but we're gonna be light with it. All right. Looks like it's starting to separate a little bit, so I got that kind of started. We're going to take these top bolts off right here now and get those off and just move on. So remember, this thing will fall down, hit you in the face. Let's just go ahead and leave one in real quick. one in for now. And then let's see if we can't finish hammering this out. Just like that. Nice. Now, with that, I'll show you guys this part. Right here, we've got this nut. Should come right out. I don't think there's like anything crazy about it. I'm gonna use my impact gun, my actual good one. Put that on here, drill that out, and then once we drill this out, they should either fall right out, or I need to like fucking hammer the shit out of it out. So let's go ahead and do that, and we'll pick up in a second. We got the bolt off. Has a ring washer that goes with it. So we got our washer and our bolt out. This thing actually just kind of comes right out. It's like, boop. Then we have this piece here. Go ahead and set that down. And now we have our bearing and center support. I don't know yet if this is just gonna slide right off. Let's see. I think it might slide off. If anything, the bushing and everything might come off, and my bearing might be fucking seized on there. If it is, you're just gonna get a hammer and a chisel, smack it on there and pull it off. Or if you have a bearing, pull it or put it around there and everything, you can yank it off that way. Or first, I'm gonna finish unbolting this. I'm gonna try to keep it from disconnecting down there because I really don't want to pull it out and re-loop it. So let's go ahead and get this all pulled off together. I'll try to set this up. We'll film everything for you. So let's get started. All right. Sweet. Looks like the bearing and everything pulled right off. And yeah, this bearing is shot. Oh yeah, this bearing is shot. So I'm going to take this clip retainer off right here. I don't know if we're going to go like this. I'm going to look up my manual, make sure when we put this back together it's all correct. But that's awesome. I've seen some people when they get the bearing stuck on here, it's seized or for whatever reason, then they have to like beat it to shit to get it off, and it's really obnoxious and annoying. But now that this is off, I'm going to go ahead and wipe down everything, clean up all my spots, contact points. I'm going to use my grease on there, high temperature grease. I'm going to lube up everything perfectly. I'm going to get the new bearing out. We're going to take a look at both of them and see what they both look like side to side to see, kind of damage was done. But let's go ahead and, pull out the old one, and we will go from there. And as you guys see, it's like a world of a difference. World of a difference. Now, you're going to notice there's two holes here. You guys can see this, but there's two holes here and one hole here. We're going to take a break for a second. I'm going to pull my manuals out. I'm going to make sure that I'm putting this all on correctly, because these holes need to be either top or bottom. And the bearing, we're going to make sure we're going to grease it up if we need to pack grease into here ourselves or anything, if it's okay pre-grease. I'm going to make sure I get everything nice and settled, cleaned up first. And once we get everything situated and everything, I'll come back, explain the process, and we'll get going. So far, we're not having to take off the whole pieces. They wanted us to take off everything and put everything in a vice grip and do all this stuff. But so far, we're doing good. So, went ahead and got the spline up there wiped down. Just kind of cleaning up everything. Hitting up all my points that I'm going to be attaching everything to, you know. And then everything's also going to get lined back up like it was. We have everything marked the way it should be. And basically, do we get all this cleaned up? 1 second. Make sure everything is nice, re-greased purpose, high temperature purpose. Grease is, any grease will do technically, but you always want to make sure you use the best grease for stuff. Here, clean up all this. Now basically I'm just gonna finger it. I'm gonna add grease into here on the boot. The inside of here. I'll make sure I'm always generous with my grease, because you don't want it to be getting on certain parts of things, but you also definitely want to make sure that you pack enough grease and do stuff. That way you're not having to remove these parts again. So let's go ahead and get our splines greased up the same way, and we'll go from there. Alright, so everything's set up. What we're going to do is the one hole and the two holes face towards the top. That's how it gets mounted. Now all this we're just going to place over and spot, and then I'm going to take our liquid grease, bring it over here, because next I'm going to get that. I have my shim right here, so basically we're going to clean this up real quick. And from there, and there's this little shim right here. It's just gonna hop over, go down, and I'm going to add some more grease. And there we are. No, it's not a vehicle. They pick up dog shit and then we're going to stick this part over. And fill my. Go ahead. Yeah. And this part is when we line up our tooth and everything perfectly. And you want to make sure it is exactly where it needs to be, because it will, one tooth will mess it up, so we need to make sure it is perfect. So just try different teeth out just to make sure. I think that's our tooth right here. Hold up. So I think that's gonna be it. We're gonna double check everything here, so
Okay, thank you.
basically that's gonna be it, I believe, right there. So let's go ahead and mark that. And then we'll get a bolt put in here, and we'll get our bolt set and marked down. Alright, we've got it set up. So basically what I did is, I think the video cut off last time, is I lubed up with my grease right here. I got to the inside, I matched up everything right here, so my markers all mark up and match. Sure. And so basically once everything matches up on your marks, we're going to put our pin in here. This slides over it. Then we're going to take our washer, which I seem to have put somewhere retarded, unless it's already in. No. So you're going to put your washer in, and then this is your bolt here, and then once you get your bolt put in, you're going to see right here, you're going to take a chisel, and you're going to notch it into the groove right there to make sure the bolt is pinned into its place. And then once you get that all put back together, then we're going to be putting on this part as our next step. So I got my washer here. And when I get my washer in, I'm basically just going to set it in here like this, so, and then put our bolt on. And I'm just going to do the bolt the same way. I'm going to use my impact gun and just lock it on there. I'm going to hold on to this so it doesn't spin as I'm impacting it. And then we will notch it on the side and lock it into place. So we're going to go ahead and do that real quick. We'll put it back up because it's all pretty self-explanatory. I have it mounted up on one side for now because it's easier to do it this way at this point without fighting it and trying to hold it at the same time. Alright, there we are. That is set. We've got these tightened up a little bit more because it made notching there a little bit easier. But again, we're going to put all our drive shafts, really get under here, and that's basically going to be just, and also inspect your drive shaft because there's going to be like play like right here. You know, so I'm probably gonna have to replace this right here. You know, and I'll probably do it down there as well at the end. So that'll probably be the next video, is me replacing the actual piece here. There's pins in here that get pulled out, and then these get pressed out, or you could use like a hammer and a socket, drive it through, and these should come out and be replaced. But we're gonna definitely clean this out. You should always clean off mud or any debris or anything like that, so we're definitely gonna do that. But they're pretty shot, so that'll be the next one. But for now, let's go ahead and get this set up. The way it needs to be. Yeah, that's pretty bad though. I don't think there's areas to grease this up. So this is probably where I'm getting a lot of my buckling and binding from. So yeah, we'll definitely be doing that next. So for now though, let's go ahead and put this on here. Make sure I want some on this side of it. And this goes in like so, and that looks like it sits right there, and everything goes down perfectly. Perfect. I'm like 95% sure this is exactly what it was supposed to be like. So, prayed to the gods with me that it is. But let's go ahead and get this stuff put in. And this is basically going to be the same way. You're gonna put these bolts down, and then these get tightened all the way down. And then I'm gonna do the same thing where I kind of hit it with the gun and tighten it down, because I'm gonna put some medium grade Loctite on all this stuff. But I don't want to until I know for sure that I did not make a mistake or causing myself a bigger hassle. So if I need to take it all apart, I'm not fighting anything. But we will come back and like these bolts here and stuff, we'll get medium grade Loctite on it. The blue stuff. The blue stuff. But yeah. After this, that's how you do your center support bearing. Mine was thankfully really easily. Stuff like this can be such a hassle sometimes. Bearings are no joke. They get pressed onto things, and it's just a fucking hassle. So let's get all this put together now. And the last bolt here. But with this last bolt on, I'm just going to finish this off camera because it's just tightening this stuff down. If you guys like the video at all, please like and subscribe. If you guys have any questions, sometimes I'm really good at answering, sometimes I'm not. Have you guys noticed that I'm retarded and have done something wrong? Please comment in the video and say, hey, you're gonna kill yourself because you didn't put this on. But with that, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you on the next video for this truck when we're doing our drive shaft U-joints.